Hello, you legends. Yet another beautiful morning in southeastern Texas. My brother and I are rolling up to the Woodlands. There was a ride posted. We're gonna head out with them.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. We rolled into the Woodlands. We picked up a small group of riders at Crust Pizza. We headed out. Went out 1488. We filmed a little bit of the warm-up, but since we had done that same route the week before, we did not turn on the camera until after Karen. We turned it on. We filmed all the way on 149. Paul had a flat on 149. We fixed it, then went on Spring Branch Road, and we filmed all the way into Montgomery. So I know you will enjoy the clips we got for you. After we left the group, they stopped at Taco Corner. We went through the forest. The day just got warmer. It turned into a pleasant day. Of course, the wind was out there. We came back on Bethel Road to 1097, and then we passed Montgomery and went on Lone Star Parkway and kind of retraced our steps and took Spring Branch Road because it's a challenge, back on Keenan cutoff there into the Hills Parkway on Grand Lake Estates. We got onto our favorite road, Honia Egypt Road, back into the Woodlands. And by the time the ride was wrapped up, it was almost about 7 hours total time.
It is, wow, it's minus 0.9. So, minus 0.9, minus 1 Celsius. Hey, that's respect.
Yeah, this light is short.
For us. It's usually short, so let's get through. There we go, it's yellow already. I don't know who set this thing. They want you to race through it.
We're going across Woodlands Parkway.
We're right at the freezing mark, and we're equipped, not heavily dressed, because we're going to be riding at a good tempo. So I just got 2 layers on today. So since it's not very windy right now, everything feels good.
Time is 7:12. We're making a good time.
Yeah, 7:12. We're good. We'll be there in 8 minutes, so it'll be like 7:20. So we'll probably spin around. So we want you guys to join us on our warm up as we roll out.
In a little bit, we get to the next intersection. We're going to see Mo. Mo is actually heading west to go and pick up his group at the Ashland YMCA. And we're always excited to see Mo, and you will hear the excitement.
Runners up.
Okay.
Let's go in the other lane.
This is Golden Sage Drive. We went across. There are runners in the right lane. I tell them their lights are very visible.
Those lights are good.
They have lights on their head.
Yeah.
They have like a headband with lights in it, and it's very visible. That's what I saw. It's the next intersection we're coming to right here. When the light changes, we're going across. Mo is coming from the right. He's heading west. He's coming from east. We're going north. Yeah, there's a guy over there in shorts. I'm like, Pop's wearing shorts. I guess it's not cold enough for him. That's the thing about Texas. People don't respect the cold.
Right at 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
He's walking around in shorts.
It don't feel like it though. Yeah.
Now watch. Look to the right. You will see more. I didn't put an arrow. There he is. Maurizio Topotopini. It was great to see Mo. he's going to the Ashland YMCA. He said there's nobody up there. I think he rode by there, but the guys are supposed to be there at 7:30.
Yeah, that's right. He looks like he came back.
Well, they're supposed to be there at 7:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went by early, so if there's nobody there, that's why.
All right, let's go up there. Nobody's there.
Mo ended up catching those guys. I found out because I rode with them the day after this ride, and they said that Mo caught them on Saturday when we left them on the way back.
Well, nobody's gonna be there this early.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 7:30 is when.
We're always happy to see Mo.
And he put a snowflake in the poster.
Yeah, the guy who posted the rod, Darren, he said at 7:30 he put a snowflake in there. You know, a lot of the guys out here, the cold weather, discourages them because they really don't have the proper kit, I think. Or they just don't want to deal with it. To each his own.
Just put his arm up here
Yeah.
and just doesn't slow down.
I was telling him about more riding Fish Creek overpass.
Yeah,
like it
he's
wasn't
the pro, man.
What happened is that the guys here, I think that they just have to decide what weather will bring them out. Once it warms up, a lot more people come out. But then the problem is the people who have been riding all year
I got
have more
into
fitness.
Lance Armstrong Strava, so he's following me too.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
it was fun.
Yeah, Paul said he's
in
following
Aspen,
Lance
Colorado.
on Strava. Lance spends a lot of time in Aspen.
Yeah, he has this old, big, huge tire bike that he rides in the snow.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Plus, you warm up if you're not moving.
Yeah, on Lance's podcast, he has a podcast he does. Sometimes he'll invite
Yeah, it looks
George
like he's
and
enjoying
Copy.
himself out there.
Somebody asked him, they asked Lance, do you use a power meter? He said, I don't have any of that S-word stuff on my bike. I think they used it when it was a job, and now that they're playing, they don't want to deal with all that stuff. Makes you feel like you're in a lab. I just display power on these films for the channel. I don't train with it. I just go ride. When I'm not riding on Saturday, that sucker's off. And it's a pedal power, so if I ride my other bikes, it's not on there. I just go ahead and ride. I can tell when I'm going hard. I don't need a power meter to tell me. So after a while, you can get sick of it. So those guys who do it for a living, when they're done, they don't want to be dealing with it. Even while they're doing it for a living, there are certain rides that just don't even use it. They just use it for specific training, and that's really what it's for. I don't want to look at our power meter all the time. I like to enjoy the outdoors.
This guy six the group, so ride with it.
What Paul is saying is that more seeks the groups. It's good to hook up with groups because it really pushes you. You want to get fast, you got to ride with faster riders than you. Ride with a group that can drop you. That will push you. I didn't realize that those bands had reflectors on them on those shorts. I really like the Rafa jersey, this new one that I did the review for that I'm wearing. The pockets are just so well made. They've got an elastic band at the top and the bottom. The band at the bottom of the jersey really keeps the pocket
straight,
lifted.
man, because the other one he had was sideways.
Paul's talking about my pulleys. It's been 7 years since I put the Grupo on this bike, and it was time for a service. I needed new derailleur jockey wheels, so I replaced them. They were just worn. They had a lot of play. It affects your shifting.
Yeah.
I put a lot of kilometers on this bike.
Oh yeah.
I just like the feel. I like that and the Colnago. They just soak up everything.
Yeah.
What I was saying is I really like that jersey I'm wearing. I like what the changes they made. I have those pockets really loaded because we were riding 7 hours, and they don't even look it, and I don't feel them. It's like they're suspended. They have really done a nice job on making those pockets feel like they're lifted, and just they hang on the fabric and the elastic, and everything is secure. And then they put the sleeve for the security pocket on the outside. So when you put stuff in there, it's on the outside, not inside like the older ones. So they made some nice changes. The tights I'm wearing were actually too warm for this day. This day warmed up to almost 18 Celsius, 65 degrees thereabouts. So it ended up being too warm. They're for serious cold weather, seriously cold weather. And I was testing them, and they did fine. I wasn't uncomfortable. When I got home, I could tell. I was like, man, this stuff is for deep winter. And they're not heavy. They have the support in certain areas. You will see me in certain parts of the ride later on
right now.
adjusting well, moving my knee. The knee area has more padding. They use a heavier material there. So they only use heavy material in certain spots. And it took some getting used to. So I was trying to move it into play. You'll see that when we get the spring branch road, I started to move things around a little bit. But they're very comfortable. Because where you don't need it, they don't put anything there. And so it's light with targeted protection.
Oh, okay.
We're in the lot here. This is Crust Pizza now. We've arrived. So we're rolling out with the guys. We just turned on the camera.
Clear. Yeah, I have been biking for a while.
So that's Mike Barreras from San Diego, California. He's now a Texan. We hit Research Forest here. I had really good legs on this ride. I had good rest on Friday. I titled this film Long Steady Distance because on this ride I was focusing on muscular endurance. We hit Research Forest. We're rolling out in a little bit. I'm going to suggest to Mike on my right to just stay on the road because at every intersection, the curve from the other intersection juts in and blocks that little lane that they're in. And that's more of a shoulder for vehicles that are, you know, broken down or whatever. But it's really there to keep the road from being washed away and for disabled vehicles. So when it's not very busy, I use it. But when it's not very busy, I use the road. When it's busy, I use it. Especially when it's just me riding. So when it's not very busy, we need to use the road. So Mike has come over and now he's gone back. So in a little bit, I'm just going to suggest to him, you know, just stay here. And he was asking, he wanted to make sure he wasn't doing anything that was unpopular. And I told him, no, it's early in the morning, just stay there. Instead of jumping back and forth at every corner, every intersection. There's a whopping 2 Celsius. 36 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's why after we talked, he said he's going to slide in behind and Paul tells him it's okay. You see how he checked before he got in there just in case Paul was going to make a move to get on my wheel, but Paul was also watching everything. That's what you have to do when you ride with other cyclists. You have to be alert. It's not the time to have a lapse in concentration. I pay more attention when I'm around other cyclists than when I'm by myself. So in a little bit here, I will roll back and tell Paul to just go ahead and flip the camera off because this is the same route we did last week. And then I told him, I said, why don't we turn it on later on when we get out to the part of last week's route that we did not film. But I didn't use those words. I just told him, let's turn it back on when we get further out on 149 going east. And he knew what I meant. We tried to get different areas on film, you know, besides the warm-up. I like to show the warm-up depending on who shows up. I move over to blow my nose because I don't want anything to get on other riders.
Thinking that we shouldn't film the whole thing because we did that last week. Same route, remember?
Turn it off?
Yeah, I think that. That's what we get
This is what we're discussing, what we're going to do.
All right, you legends.
So we had our production
North.
meeting.
I'm gonna get some clips for you all.
So we're on 149, an area called Karen, after Mount Magnolia. I got the camera on, and I'm gonna hand it to Paul. Paul had just taken a long pull, and while he was up there, I decided let me turn on the camera because if he's pulling that hard, I figured we're gonna get to that intersection where Jackson goes north and 149 goes east. That's where we left the group last week. I figured we'd get there quickly. You'll hear me tell him that in a little bit. And so I'm working my legs harder than I normally do by myself. That's why you see my cadence is low. And since the group is holding a steady pace, I can do that. You'll see me drift right or left. I'm making sure I can see around them. I'm still trying to get used to those tights because the knee feels a little off. They have a lot of material there. I don't think I lined it up very well. So in a little while, well, not right now, when we get to Spring Branch Road, I'm going to basically work it into place. It's not uncomfortable or anything. I'm just very picky. Very anal, actually. But look at the jersey. See how it sits? That's World Tour. That's how the World Tour riders' jersey look. And those pockets are suspended. And the more stuff you put in there, the more they go away from your body. You don't feel the contents heavily on you.
Yep.
We passed an area where we smelled nothing but skunk, like a skunk had sprayed. That's where we are. That's what I was just telling him. Man, it is strong. That's what we're riding through right now. I stay slightly to the right to see around these guys. And then from time to time, I would drift to the left a little bit. We're not going extremely hard right now because I'm in the draft. I'm sitting in zone 1. Whenever there are pebbles or little rocks, I use my hips to go through them. That's why you see the bike may rock a little bit. The road goes up slightly, 2%. Doesn't look it, but you feel it. So I don't want to shift, so I stand just to keep the gear rolling. And then I hit zone 2. So standing is not the most efficient way to ride. That's what I was telling Paul. I said I turned the camera on because the way he was pulling, he had been there for a long time. He was drilling it. I figured we'd be at this corner quickly. Let me turn the camera on, so we already got it going. And it was a good idea because the intersection is coming up. It's a junction where we're gonna go across the railroad tracks. If we were to go straight, it would be Jackson Road, one of another string of our favorite roads.
Right turn.
The car is is turning right as well, so I just tell him stay on the shoulder. You don't have to worry about the car.
Stay on the shoulder, you're good.
That's Matt. I got his name on Sunday. I've known him as an acquaintance on these rides at least over a year. I mean, you know, if somebody comes, you know, that bike or something. I remember him from his shoes. He has a colorful pair of shoes that has blue and coral combination, and it's on the back side. So we're in the forest a little over a year ago, and I remember those shoes. So every time I see him, I say, I know this guy, I just never got his name. So I made it a point today, as I'm doing this voiceover, we rode together, he was there, and I asked him for his name. He's on Strava, so it was easy. After the ride, he showed up in the people that, you know, you ride with somebody on the Strava, it shows up. So it's kind of cool. So I'm basically loading up my legs, and I'm doing the RPM 8 in the 80s. This road goes up. You can see on right and left, we have a lot of property. A lot of it, people have homes, but they're not near the street. You know, agricultural farm property. Large acreage properties. So some of them have cows and other things. Formation is not super tight, but I'm close enough. I step back a little bit so I can see around these guys easier. You can see those little reflectors on the left. You don't want to ride over those, the little squares there. I'm doing that to avoid those pebbles. I use my hips to dodge them. There are a lot of little pieces of rocks that fall off these cars and trucks. And somebody put a bunch of just stuff, looked like sheetrock or something that just dumped on the side of the road. I don't know if we've come, and I think it's here. All those white things you see right there. There's all kinds of stuff. It probably fell off of a work truck. I've been riding and seeing just a pickup truck go by, and a brand new tool fell out of it. I picked it up and put it on the side of the road. I figured he might come back looking for it. It was in a subdivision. But to not secure your tools, you know, tools are not cheap as you drive down the road. It makes sense. You're a professional. You should have a toolbox or tool chest or something. Because they leave it in an open bed of a pickup truck. So all those things are road hazards when they get out in front of you when you're riding. You got to look for those. So I always make sure I can see around the rider in front of me. If I have to drift left or right, doesn't matter. So you see I'm slightly just off to the side. That's all you need. You can even lean your head if you want. You want to see what's coming. You don't want to depend on them. If you know what's coming, you can relax. The road's going up here. It's a good drag. I think down here I may have used a small chain. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I think I did. But when you're in the group, you don't want to push a heavy gear for too long to where you need a lot of time for your legs to recover. You've got to make it kind of moderate. Because when I train solo and I'm pushing my legs, my cadence is a lot lower, the gear's a lot lower. So this climb goes to like 3%, it's long, then it will level off. It's almost like a mountain pass. It goes up, then it levels off, then it kicks up, and we get into Keenan. You see me looking down, I'm looking at the gear I'm in, really just for reference, because it really doesn't feel very hard. And I think I'm back on the big chainring, that's why I'm looking. I'm looking to see, why is this gear so easy? I use that, put it in the database, so when I'm training solo, I can replicate it or go harder, you know. So the rest of this here is like 1%, 2%. It goes up, levels off, you know. This is why we didn't come here last week. Yeah, it's kind of boring until you get to Keenan. Once you get to Keenan, you go across the intersection and turn left on Spring Branch. Spring Branch is very interesting. I think Mike Barrera is pulling now. Or is it Darren? It might be Darren. Going up again, so between 2 and 3%. This is where it somewhat levels off, but it stays like a ninja grade. A lot of little debris, pieces of tire and all this stuff on the road. Yeah, so Mike was pulling. Okay. So Darren had pulled on 149 North. So Paul told him where to go. All I'm doing is just keeping my rhythm the same. I'm not spinning a high cadence. My cadence is very moderate right now. You have to teach your body. Sometimes you have to push. Sometimes you can spin your way out of stuff. But you can't be a one-dimensional cyclist. So we use these roads to get to our scenic roads, but to tell you the truth, I don't care for these, not because of the road or safety. It's the noise of the vehicles as they go by. They're just so loud. I'm getting the global foil. I'm wearing like a skull cap. I'm pushing it up above my ears. My body temperature is going up. So that helps me cool down. Soft pedally just to keep things steady so the person behind me doesn't have to touch brakes or anything. We're in Keenan. That's a new gas station on the right that they just built. They had the nerve to charge for ice during the summer, so I don't use them. I told Paul, we're not going to patronize them. Charging for ice, please. You got a machine sitting there with soda and ice and all that stuff. You're using tap water to make ice. You want to sell it. In a little bit, this is where Paul will have the flat. There's something on the road that was like a piece of stone or something that you would use in construction, just sitting on there. Paul has a flat and we pull off to fix it. It took us a while because we put the first tube in there. We had these nice lightweight Michelin tubes. It's easy to carry. It takes up very little room. So we carry that in our essentials kit, and we have 2 solid tubes in the bag. So we didn't want to mess with the bag. Just put the lightweight tube in there, pumping it up, pow! It just, the valve failed. He said he's got a flat.
I have a flat.
So I just got off the road. There's a driveway right there. When you have a flat, get off the road. You're not very visible when you're not moving. Find a place, get off the road. So I leaned my bike on somebody's, there's a little post.
I heard it, dude. Yeah. Okay,
That's
let's
Matt.
listen for it because
That's
that means
Matt
it's still
back
in
there.
the tire.
So I'm gonna take my bike and lean it so I can help Paul. We can get this fixed quickly. And I mentioned earlier we ended up using this fancy tube. Those lightweight tubes don't work. And so you can see it's what? 8:56. I don't know how long we're there. Let's see, 8:30 something. It's like 10 or 15 minutes. That's quite a bit just for a tube. It took because we had to put the first one in there, pump it up, then take it off, put another one in there. It was a hassle. So we got it done. We're heading out. There's never a good time for a flat. I think I mentioned that when we're leaving. So we get about 85 PSI in the tire with our little pump. The pocket is made by Topek. It's a high pressure pump. I mean, you can put more if you want to stand on the side of the road doing that, but it was hard, you know. You hear me asking, how's your tire? I ride with like 90, 95 most of the time. 90 in the front, 95 in the back. So I don't put a lot of air pressure in my tire. I want to feel the suppleness of the tire. I want it to soak up the bumps when I go over them on the road. But you see how that jersey looks? It feels better than it looks. So they need to continue that even in their short sleeve jersey because that's a nice change. Fits really well. I've lost a bit of weight. I'm 84 kilos now or something like that. I'm 185 pounds. I'm letting Mike know not to go. That car popped over the hill because it's a blind hill. He saw it too. Wasn't that close. I just want to make sure. There's a blind hill, so when I'm turning, I look up to make sure I see them because they don't see you. I tell him, I said, I always look up because we sit high on our bikes. We can see it because they're not looking for us. That particular turn. And anywhere you turn it where you can't see what's coming around the corner, you got to keep your eye on it until you finish your turn. If a car is coming around, we have roads like that where there's a blind corner and you start to go across and a car appears. You got to really check.
Come back. Come back.
So Mike's new to the area, but he's been following the channel. So I'm telling him, I'm sure he saw the video where Dave got taken out by the dogs. I'm letting him know. So on Sunday, we took him to another place called Navajo. We've never filmed that much, but so he got to check that out. It's on this road where I will start adjusting the knee of these pants, because the knee, they have what they call the osmos heavy material on the knee to keep your knee really warm. And it just felt a little out of place, so I tried to massage it. But once I got the hang of it, it was just comfortable. So I'm doing that to try to move the knee. It feels weird on the right. The left feels good.
Good, man.
I asked him about how his tire feels. He said good, so we're good to go. We made sure we checked that there was nothing in the tire. That's why I'm adjusting it. The heaviest materials around the knee, and I think it just wasn't lined up. But once I got back, I looked at it and I could see what had happened. It was a little twisted. But once I fixed it on here, I was fine for the rest of the ride. It's like when you set this thing up, the shorts, you forget you're wearing them. They don't feel like other bibs where they have fleece inside the entire stuff. What Assos did on this bib, they just put things where you need it. That's what I'm doing. I'm massaging the knee area. They put things where you need it and not where you don't. So they don't have fleece on the inside of the entire thing. They use heavier materials, not fleece. They have their own proprietary fabrics, and they put the heavy stuff around the knee. There, I've stretched it, and it just started feeling better. Then you hear Paul say, "This thing look like it came with your shoes."
They came with the shoes, man.
They've got that little sleeve at the bottom that looks silver, the grayish looking silver. It's
like a one piece. Yeah.
It's to keep water from getting in your overshoes. I call them Rumpelstiltskin because they're in a lab creating stuff. So all the air you see me feeling is very light and breathable, but the front is heavy. And so I stretched it right there, and all of a sudden it started feeling better. And when I'm testing this stuff, so I didn't want to damage it or anything. You gotta be careful how you're pulling on stuff. You don't want to pull the seams or anything. So when you see me massaging, there are no seams. And all I do is I work the material in there just to see. Because I had them send what they call the double XL, because my thighs are large. And so if I get anything other than that, it's not very comfortable, especially for these winter things. But this one fits so well. They did a great job. And then the straps, the color of the straps matched the jersey. Even Mike noticed it, and on this, in a little bit, he would mention it. I'll tell him, yeah, I planned it that way. That's a 3 out of 3 winter color. Really, for our area in the spring and fall, I need the 2 out of 3. They have a 2 out of 3. That's the one I would test. The 2 out of 3, because this 3 out of 3 is for 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below, 7 Celsius or less. Because once it gets up warmer than that, even though they're very breathable and comfortable, it's overkill. This stuff is for freezing weather when you're riding hard. So they didn't make it heavy. We rode this climb very civilized. I told him, I said, we're climbing like the Belgians do. This uses a lot of energy, but it felt good. That's what my body wanted to do. I put it in a big gear and just stood up. Matt is at the front, he's pulling. Now what happened was, on the highway when Paul had the flat, it was my turn was coming up to pull. I was behind Darren, who's in front of me here. Now Mike Barrera is currently in front of Darren. So once Matt gets through pulling, I'm gonna go to the front and I'm gonna tell Mike it's actually my turn in the rotation. He said, oh, okay. and then I go to the front and I pull. You'll see that in a little bit. You got to pull your weight. Don't sit in. If you can sprint and do other stuff, help the group, because all of you travel faster if you work together. You see my torso when I stand? You keep the same riding position. You don't need to stand upright. You're just lifting your body off the saddle and putting your body weight into the pedals. It uses more energy, so your heart rate will go up. But I do that because we're not riding that hard, and that way I can expend more energy and push myself a little harder. See how that jersey fits? I got all kinds of stuff in those pockets. They're loaded. And look at that. So yeah. That's a nice improvement. So the top guys are constantly improving their products. They're not just bringing stuff out to be bringing them out. And I told Paul Ilonga a long time ago, I said, when we get these, let's just get one copy to test. Because if you get too many copies and then they improve it, then you got too many copies of the old one. So you just get one and get a color that you can use a lot and move on. You know, that's kind of what we've been doing lately. I've been putting some of these things on eBay, and people have been snatching them up because, you know, I'll do a review, and if I don't like it that much, I just put it on eBay, sell it. And people have been buying them. Because a lot of them I'll do a video and they'll just sit in my closet. I don't even wear them that much. The road's going up a little bit. That felt good to do, so I stood up. You see how I stand and sit without breaking my momentum. Soft pedal here. I think Matt is going to pull off soon. This is why we like this road. If you notice, I think one car passed when we initially turned, and this is like this all the time. All days of the week, every now and then you get a car. Because there are a few homes out here, large acreage properties. There's not a high volume. There's not concentrated living here. People are spread out. There's no industry. A lot of ag families live here. They got cows and stuff on there. They get exemptions in their taxes for that. The road's going up. I just put it in a big gear and stand. You're working a little harder, so you only want to do that if you're riding with a group that's keeping it steady at a pace that you can handle. Because if you burn your legs too much and then you're riding with a group that lifts the pace, you might have trouble if you haven't recovered. Your legs need more time to recover than your lungs. I'm watching intently, and as we roll down here, I'm going to wait till we start to go up the hill when Mike takes over. I think right here, he's already pulling right here. There we go. Now Matt had been pulling for a while, and so I just decided this is my turn in the rotation because I was behind Darren, and I'm gonna tell him. And he said, okay, so I'll move to the front and give him my wheel. And I'm keeping it steady because Matt had been pulling for a while and he's on the back. So I'm keeping it steady so he can catch his breath. I'm not looking at watts. I'm doing it by feel, just steady. Steady she goes. Keep the pressure the same. It's harder to do when the road's going up. Those dogs on the left, they're always running in their yard. They chase each other. We're chatting. He's talking about my jersey and the color, and I told him, yeah, I planned it. He said, the straps match your jersey. I said, yeah, I planned it. Mike Barak found the channel through one of my reviews. He said that he likes Rafa. He told me on the ride after this one, he said, I found a review and then got exposed to your channel. So the reviews have brought a lot of people to the channel because he likes the Rafa stuff. And sometimes it helps to get a good review before you put your hard-earned dollars on some product. Although Rafa does make it easy for you to return stuff. I've got a review coming out of the Pro Team winter shorts, maybe in a week or two, because it's got some little nuances, got some nice changes that they made, but it requires a different mindset when you're picking the size. So I think it will make a good product to review. They've got good colorways too: burgundy, green, navy, and black. Word goes up here. All I'm doing is keeping it steady. I downshift. Mike stands. I downshift. I remain seated. Got a slight downhill here. And usually I shift up. I want to keep my legs moving. I don't want to coast. The slight grade kicked in. I think I'm standing. Yeah, I'm standing. So I don't have to shift. So you break it up. You know, stand for a bit, sit for a bit. Especially when you train alone, mix it up. Get used to all of that. I'm still standing. So by keeping it steady, people can get a rhythm behind you. They can decide, okay, I'm going to spin a high cadence, or I'm going to just put it in this gear and work my legs. He's talking about the houses. That's what Mike talking about. Mike just moved here from California. Our mansions here, you know, we don't pay as much for houses like they do. You know, California is densely populated. You know, and that stuff is expensive. Your little matchbox over there would be millions of dollars. You know, you come down here, you get a ranch for less than that, far less. So he's seen all these big homes and big lots. You know, there's a lot of space here. Everything's spread out, but not on top of each other. So he's commenting about the size of the houses and this and that, you know. California is expensive compared to Texas. I stayed to the right where you see me because the wind's coming from in front and from the right. So Mike can stay on my left where you see he is. Mike drafts really well. That saves his energy. So when he needs to go to the front, he'll be rested. That helps the group, actually. If you draft well, when you get to the front, you have enough energy to keep that group moving. I think this is the last climb before we get to the corner. I'm in a moderate gear. You can see my cadence will be around 80 and I'm standing. There was a cyclist from Belgium called Claudie Kilian, the Lion of Flanders. And there's another guy, Musée, who's also called the Lion of Flanders. The Flanders, the Belgian flag, I think they have a lion on it. So they have a lot of riders that will dub that. But Crick the Lion, I just like his style. You know, he was a hard-working cyclist. Lots of panache. He wasn't flamboyant or anything. He was just a hard rider, just a strong guy. He and Steve Bauer crashed during the World Championships on the finish line, near the finish line. So right here, after I got through taking that pull, Darren goes to the front and he lifts the pace. And that's why you don't want to pull longer than you can tolerate, because the other riders, they're sitting behind there. They're saving energy. I just moved behind Mike's wheel in the rotation, because I don't want to go all the way to the back. So the guys behind get a break. I think Matt is behind Paul, because Paul is behind me. Matt hasn't been riding as much recently, so he's trying to get himself into shape. And we can tell, when you ride with people, you can tell who knows, who's been there, who's had great fitness, but all of a sudden life takes over and they're just a little behind in their caves. And so by keeping it steady, it will help him get in shape. And then the person who sits up there longer, they'll also get a good workout. But what I was talking about was Crick the Lion and Steve Bauer had a crash in the finish of one of the World Championships, and then Crick the Lion sued Steve Bauer. And that lawsuit went on for many years in the courts, in the Belgian court system. He sued him, you know, I guess he thought it was intentional or a bad play or whatever, but I didn't understand how you can take something off the sporting field and into court, because you're really under the rules of the UCI, you know. But the case got resolved many years later. But Steve Bauer was always, how do you say, bad lucky, because when he had good fitness in the World Championship, he was there several times, and he just came up short. So, good rider. He actually was in the Tour de France leader's jersey, I think, for 10 days one time in his career. Back in the day of 7-Eleven and stuff like that. The 7-Eleven team. Late 80s, early 90s. Steve Bauer also rode for Motorola. He's a Canadian. He used to come down to Austin, Texas for that training. That's back in the day, 93, when Lance newly joined Motorola, when he turned pro with them. And he went to the tour and won that stage. That was sweet. So we used to see those guys in the Austin area. Got to ride with them from time to time. That was nice. You could sit behind them but not get in the rotation. They had their rotation and we would just sit on the back. But we're talking 4+ hours at 35, 37K. That's their steady pace in rolling terrain. You know, because Austin is a hill country. It's up and down. So the wind is blowing and everything. If you look at my kit, nothing is moving. I finally got the knee on that pant, on the tights to feel right. You know, so. But it was my bad. I put it on like everything else. You got to kind of line it up. ASOS uses different fabric. If you look at what the seams are, they're different fabrics. They use panels, and they're anatomically shaped. So you got to line it up correctly. In fact, even on their knee and arm warmers, they're marked left and right. And those are anatomically shaped as well. They're really into details. I'm very impressed. I think, personally, that their shorts are actually a level up a little bit, because the stuff that they're putting in there, I'm very impressed. But I like the Rafa jersey and their colorways. Also has so much black stuff. You know, they got it, especially in the RS line. So I'm telling Mike about the fact that we're in Montgomery, and if you blink, you will miss it. The downtown is to the right, 1 block. I said, you blink, you miss it. That's what they're laughing at.
High school's on the left.
So I'm telling him the high school on the left. The reason is they have rides that leave there from time to time. He's asking about, there's a stadium on the right. He said, what is that? It's a big football stadium or something. They had a ride there. We filmed it, the RDPC a few years ago. They started there in that. It's to the right. Those buildings you see there, that's a stadium, the sports stadium. The high school's on the left. All these high schools have the same shape. They must hire the same contractor. Or the state just has a certain style, because all the schools look similar. They keep them low. I'd probably make them more resistant to storm damage. They spread them out. The high school's left, those brown buildings across. So I'm letting Mike know, he's new to the area, because he rides out here with these guys, and they weren't pointing those things out. I want him to know these little landmarks. I'm staying to the right of that washboard looking thing. I hate those. They put them there so when drivers are drifting off the road, it will get their attention. And it just takes out a nice little shoulder. That would have been a nice shoulder there. But you should be able to ride where you see me riding without having to change your line. And I noticed that Darren and them are pushing, so I stand up, put in a bigger gear, and I'm riding up to them. I had done some different training during the week, so I had good legs. There's a turn coming up. We're going to turn on Lone Star Parkway. So we use this Highway 105, which is a little busy, but right here is not. And we turn to get on this quieter road. This will take us to Taco Corner. There are many ways to get there. This is another way from Spring Branch that they use. And this is like slightly downhill, but some rollers, you know. The speeds always pick up on this stretch. So as we go down here, I go ahead and take a drink. That's one thing I've been working on in the cold, to make sure I drink, especially if the pace is up and I was pushing my legs. So I try to get water in my system to make sure I'm not behind. Because when we turned on this road, the wind really picked up. You can see how exposed it is. There's no shelter. So Darren pulls off, and then Mike Barrera takes over. With the beauty of the draft, even if you're riding with other riders that are not as strong or are not as fit, if you guys keep it fairly steady, they can hang. Now, it doesn't mean the whole ride has to be steady. There's certain times, like if you come to a hill, people want to push. Yeah, let them do their thing. Then after the hill, you guys regroup, and then you keep it steady again for them. They can sit in. That way, they'll be able to get a good workout, get some kind of a rhythm. Because it's not, you're not simulating a race per se. But it allows them the challenge to keep up with you guys, push themselves, and try to get themselves into shape. So if you're not fit as the other riders, resist the urge to go sit at the front. You're not impressing anybody. They can tell. When you're riding above your head, other riders that are experienced can tell. Your body shows it. You're not as relaxed. You're contorting and trying to find power where you don't have it. I don't think we filmed this section before, so it was nice to get some clips here on Lone Star Parkway. Very quiet road, a few cars now and then, but it's not a major artery or anything. It's just people that live in the area going about their business. So, I don't know what you did this Saturday, but this is part of what we did on Saturday. Remember, get your K's in and keep those doctors far